Hi guys, we're going to talk about the syllabus a little bit. We talked about this during class quite a bit, but just in case you missed class or maybe you have some questions left over that we didn't necessarily cover, and maybe you forgot some of the details, I wanted to go over this with you in a digital way too. Alright, welcome to English 222 Expository Writing and Research. Yay, it'll be exciting, it'll be fun, you guys got this. Don't forget that I'm here to support you every step of the way. Alright, our class meets Wednesday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. in room 307 on the Mount Pleasant campus. The good news is we do not have a required text for this class. However, at some point we will want to get a doc style manual to help us with the requirements of our chosen doc style that is related to our field. Do not go out and purchase the one that you assume. I will approve which doc style manual you need to use, and I do work in the library, so I might actually have a copy of the doc style manual that you'll need, so you might not actually even have to go out and buy one. How cool is that? You guys totally chose the right name when you registered. Alright, so you will need a doc style manual for this class. We do not have any other required texts. We'll talk about that in the future a little bit. Other required materials, you do need a USB drive, flash drive, something like that. Computer and internet access is required to be successful in this class. However, if you do not have a computer at home, give me a call, come in and see me, talk to me after class. The library does have laptops that are available for checkout. We do have other options as well if you don't have a computer at home, but we do want to have access to one, so talk to me if you don't. Also, we're going to need to dedicate a significant amount of time to your success in this class. It is a pretty heavy research and writing class, as we talked about. But it's very doable as long as you are dedicated to your success and willing to put in the time. We want to plan between 6 and 9 hours, give or take, depending on the time of the semester outside of class. We do have a lot of lab time scheduled, so I will have time available for you to work in class during our regularly scheduled hours, but you are going to need to do some work outside. And let's make sure we manage our time so that we do have that success in here. I'm not going to go over the course description or course proficiencies because we talked about that rather extensively in class, and you can review them for your own on your own time. Course expectations and policies. The main purpose of this class is to write an 18 to 20 page research position paper, an expository paper, in which you present a problem in your field, and we'll talk a lot about that throughout the semester, what we mean by the term problem, where you take a stance on it and argue why it is a problem and offer a potential solution. 18 to 20 pages seems like a lot at this point, and it is a lot of writing, but the way the class is set up is for your success. And each of our assignments build upon the last one to actually structure that big paper long before it's ever actually due. So yes, 18 to 20 is a big scary number, but you got this. You're going to find success in this class. Alright, meeting requirements. We do meet 16 times, once per week, and we will have some communication in Moodle, as we talked about. Attendance is required. It's mandatory, necessary, imperative, all of those big important words for success in this class. We do only meet 16 times, and so if you miss 4 or more absences, it kind of equates to missing a whole quarter of the semester. Therefore, if you do have 4 or more absences, it's going to result in the failure of the class. Life does happen. It can get in the way of our best laid plans, so maybe you're not going to be able to make to all 16. If that happens, make sure that you get a hold of me and we can talk about a plan for your success. That being said, you do need to be prepared and take ownership of your own educational success. And what I mean by that is if you do miss a class, you need to get a hold of me. I'm not going to reach out to you necessarily to talk about what you may have missed. So take your responsibility seriously, and if you miss a class, email me and we can talk about what you missed. Alright. I do ask that we're all respectful in our classroom and in our Moodle space as well. We're all adults here. I'm sure we're not going to have a problem with that, but do remember that we all have a right to learn, and if you are rude and disrespectful, I will ask you to leave class, and that's going to count as an absence, but you guys are awesome. It's not going to happen. I'm sure we're not going to have an issue with disrespect. You do need to be willing to read your research. We're going to do a lot of research in this class to support our conversations for those 18 to 20 pages that we're going to be writing. And we have to have 10 to 12 articles. We actually have to have 12. We're going to be working with 10 of them for most of the semester, but for that final paper, you're going to need to have 12 articles, and each one of your articles needs to be a minimum of 10 pages long. and that's going to be about 120 pages of reading. And I understand that reading is not necessarily all of our strong suits, and that's okay. We have a lot of support here. If reading isn't your best subject, if you struggle with it or you just get bored with it, we do have lots of techniques and tips and suggestions on how to help you find success with your reading. We also have the Writing and Reading Center that can support you, and I am happy to support you as well if you are struggling with that reading requirement. Alright, remember that showing up to class is more than just sitting there being bored. I do teach one of the most hated English classes at mid, and English can sometimes be boring, but we can make it an exciting conversation at least. So come in willing to participate in our discussions and talk about what's going on, and we'll try and not make it super boring for you. Remember, in terms of communication, you need to use your midmich.edu email address. I will never ask for your personal information. Therefore, you should not expect to hear from me from your Gmail, Hotmail, or whatever other web service you use for your email. So always check your midmich.edu email address. It's how I'm going to communicate with you. Usually, I communicate with you that way once or twice a week. I'm a huge, big email person, so do check it regularly. At least once every other day should be good. I do expect our emails to be like their business communications. We are professionals in training. So I want to see, a salutation, state your purpose, remind me what class you're in. I teach a lot of classes. Let's use proper grammar, at least try. No slang, no text speak, that kind of stuff. Will I not read an email that's unprofessional? Of course not. But we are practicing professionals, so let's try and communicate like that, okay? Homework and coursework. Remember that our class runs from Wednesday to Tuesday. We have class on Wednesday, and therefore all of our assignments will be due Tuesday before class at 11:50 p.m. in Moodle, unless we talk about it otherwise during our actual class. What this means is you need to submit your assignments to Moodle by 11:50, not 11:51. 11:50 is the cutoff date. So I encourage you to try and submit a little bit early before that. If we wait until 11:49 and Moodle decides that it wants to have a technical glitch at that point, you're not going to be able to submit your paper, and then you're just going to have some frustration, and we'll work through it. But to save ourselves some frustration, let's make sure that we do submit timely on the Tuesday before class. And I do open our assignments the day that they are assigned, so if you want to work throughout the week, you can certainly submit it early for most of our assignments. Please note that I will not accept email submissions without prior communication. So if you know that something's going to happen on that Tuesday and assignment's due and you're not going to be able to submit it in Moodle, we can talk about it, make email arrangements. But if you just cold email me something and say, hey, Rowan, my paper's attached, I might not get it. I teach a lot of classes. I have a full-time day job. I get anywhere between 100 and 120 emails a day. So maybe you'll slip through if I'm not expecting it and your assignment would be late. So if you're going to need to email me something, let's make arrangements first so I can be sure to check that you are sending me something. I do require all of our assignments to be in a Word-compatible format, .doc, .docx, or .rtf. If I can't open an assignment, I can't grade it. You won't get credit for it. I will not accept documents saved in Microsoft Works, PDFs, or as Google Docs. I know that Google Docs is super common right now, but for some of us with some of the less common doc styles, you're not going to be able to format your paper correctly in Google Docs, so I just make it as a rule right now until Google Docs improves that we do need to have a Word-compatible format. Do not send me something via Google Docs, please. All assignments need to be typed double-spaced in size 12 font, Times New Roman, or one of the more common ones like that. Not 12.5, not 13, not 14. We are a traditional class, but you do submit all of your assignments digitally, so I can easily check and make sure that it's the proper font size, so let's not kind of try and cheat ourselves out of our success by changing our font styles to something a little bit bigger, like I won't notice, okay? Alright, late work policy. As discussed in class, you can have one late assignment, just one, and it is due 3 days from its original due date. You do need to let me know, hey Rowan, I'm going to use this as my one freebie. There are some assignments throughout the semester that I will not take as a late assignment, and they're more towards the end of the semester, like that big paper, for instance. Alright, we talked about our technology policy a little bit. Texting is not allowed in my class, neither is non-class internet stuff like games, social media, that kind of stuff. No M-during, please. And individual music is also not allowed during lecture time. When we go to lab, usually, it's okay if we listen to music after the lecture is done, but in class, those activities are not allowed, and they will be counted as an absence if I see you doing them. I do not ask that you turn your phone off because, we all have lives outside of that classroom. Maybe something comes up. But I do ask you to take those kinds of communications outside of the classroom as they are very distracting to us, you, and your classmates. I also ask that we do not take anybody's pictures, no videos, none of that kind of stuff in the classroom during class time. This includes selfies. Do not take selfies in my classroom. Plagiarism and academic honesty, we'll talk about this throughout the semester, but essentially you need to do your own work, and any work that is not yours, make sure that you do cite it properly. Drop policy, this is a big scary class and it can get tough, but I'm here to support you the entire way, and I do not encourage you guys to drop. If you are facing challenges with this class, talk to me. We'll see what we can do to get you to have some success in our class. If you do feel the need after our conversations to drop the class, let's do so through proper channels. Get a hold of me, we'll make sure you do the proper forms, and you can withdraw officially. If you just stop coming to class, I still have to grade you. Okay, so if you don't drop officially and you just, I'm not going to go back to class ever again, I have to give you zeros for all of your remaining assignments. And what that means is you're going to fail the class and the F goes on your record. And then that might impact your financial aid or future academic endeavors. So while I don't encourage you to drop, if we determine that that's what needs to happen, let's do it officially so that you don't have an F on your record, okay? We talked about our self-entitlement clause. Everybody's busy. Let's not expect exceptions because we're particularly busy. We're all particularly busy, and life does get in the way. So communicate with me, and we'll find a path for your success. But don't make assumptions that just because it's Thanksgiving, you don't have to do the work. Okay? Class structure. We're going to meet. We're going to do work in Moodle using discussion forums, that kind of stuff, and it's all geared towards supporting a paper that is worth 66% of your grade. You do have 44 other percentage points that go to supporting your paper. So let's not blow off those smaller assignments because they do have a very deliberate purpose in supporting that paper, but also supporting your grade. Okay, and then 66% of that grade is going to be that final paper. That's a big, huge number, but trust me, we'll get you there. As a reminder, all of our assignments are due on Tuesday at 11:50 in Moodle unless we talk otherwise. These are our assignments. I'm not going to go through them because we kind of went through them in class, and we will talk about them really extensively throughout the semester. I'm just kind of give you a heads up. We do have participation and attendance. We have discussion boards once a week for 15 of our weeks. These are worth 5 points each, 3 points for the original post and 2 points for a response, and they're small, and some students find them tedious, but they do serve a purpose to keep our communication going throughout the week, and they do result in 3.75% of your final grade, meaning that if you blow off all of our discussion boards, the highest that you can get if you got 100% on everything else is a 96.25. So our smaller assignments do add up to significant percentage points, okay? You're going to do a couple personal analysis essays throughout the semester, some topic proposals, some documentation research, and we're actually going to do a template to make sure that we are all on the same page with that. Got some annotated bibliographies, another research proposal, some outlines. We do have individual meetings 3 times throughout the semester, and these are kind of awesome because they support your grade. You earn very easy points just coming in and talk to me. And why they're great is because they give us an opportunity to talk one-on-one about your writing process, the progress you're making with your research and your paper. But also, you come in and talk to me in class for 10 to 15 minutes during class time. We set up an individual schedule meeting for you to do that during a regularly scheduled class time. Spend 10 to 15 minutes talking to me, and that counts for your class for the week. So 3 of our weeks we don't actually have class, we just sit and have a conversation. How cool is that? One of them is going to be digital, so we don't even actually come to class. We'll talk about that in the future. We do have 2 drafts that are mandatory. We have a half draft and a rough draft, and before you actually even get to that final draft, you will have 15 pages of your paper written. Sweet. We do have 2 peer evaluation sessions throughout the semester, and these are in-class activities that cannot be made up. Excuse me. And then we have our final paper that is going to be due on Tuesday, December 7th by 11:50 in Moodle, and you'll notice that it is one of those that we do not accept late. We have 1 final personal analysis. And we do have a couple opportunities for extra credit. I'm pretty generous with extra credit because I know that this is a very challenging class and it can be easy to kind of fall behind in points if we don't stay at the top of our game. So I do offer these 2 extra credits as well as some in-class activities to support your grade. Here's our grading scale, yay, and how you can get a hold of me. Remember, I do work on campus for my day job as the LLS assistant. I am in room 168. You can come and see me anytime. I do exist outside of our classroom. You can call me at work. You can also email me at work. If you would prefer to have personal communications through text, you can come and talk to me before or after class, and we'll exchange numbers privately that way. Any way you're comfortable communicating with me, I'm here to support your success, so let's be sure that we're keeping a conversation going. And here's our projected schedule. This may change slightly throughout the semester depending on snow days and all that fun stuff, but there you go. There's your syllabus. If you have any questions, let me know.